Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. I do want to talk about it from the Kentucky side of things, though. Because listen, I don't think this loss is some big blemish. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the history of college basketball, but it was a disappointing loss in the manner that it happened. And then I think transparently, I'll just say this. I think it was disappointing because after the game, we found out that Kentucky's second leading scorer, Jackson Robinson, is out for the season. Okay. And so it's interesting because, first of all, I did a live reaction to that when it happened on Saturday afternoon. You can check that out on the YouTube channel. But really, what I would just say about that is, and just to reiterate really quickly, one, I feel terrible for the kid. You know, remember, this was a kid that followed Mark Pope from BYU to Kentucky, a kid that kind of bounced around a little bit, was at Texas A&M to start his career, goes to Arkansas, it doesn't work out, goes to BYU, finally finds a home with Mark Pope, follows Mark Pope, withdrew from the draft, probably would have been a second-round pick last year. And so I just feel terrible for the kid. I know how excited he was to be a Wildcat. I know how well he was playing in certain moments. But I also know how frustrating it is for him that he just doesn't get to end his 1 year at Kentucky the way he had hoped. Listen, everybody thought, that is this going to end with a deep tournament run? What does it mean for him? Well, we find out that the season's over. I'll say this too really quick. I actually feel bad for Kentucky fans. You know, obviously we do this on a day in, day out basis. We talk a lot of college hoops. And I just go back to late May, early June at the NBA draft deadline. I remember how excited Kentucky fans were for the possibility of Jackson Robinson. I remember staying up that night of the NBA draft deadline. I said it in the reaction. I actually was flying to Mexico the next day for vacation. I remember landing in Mexico to seeing the news that Jackson Robinson had officially withdrawn from the draft and committed to Kentucky. So I feel bad for the fans. I feel bad for the player. And I talked a little bit about what this means big picture for Kentucky. What I will say, after having 24 hours to really think about this, I think where I land on Kentucky, it's not so much what does this mean for the season. It's going to be an uphill battle. We know that. Lamont Butler doesn't look like he's 100%. Andrew Carr has been dealing with the back injuries. You're being forced to play a lot of young players. But let me say this. I think I have come to this place on this Kentucky season, which still has a couple weeks left. I think that regardless of what happens going forward, regardless of what happens from today's March 2nd on, this Kentucky basketball season, in my opinion, should be considered a success, and I think Kentucky fans should feel really good about having Mark Pope as their head coach, okay? And listen, I know this sounds like a funeral. I know it sounds like the season is over. It's not over. And I still believe that if you can get Lamont Butler healthy, you can still make a run. I still believe you're an elite team. But I also believe that Mark Pope has been dealt about as tough of a hand as anybody really in college basketball this year. You know, really, I go back and it's like, you go back to basically Christmas. They have not really had a 100% fully healthy roster since before Christmas. Remember, Kirk Kriisa goes down in the Gonzaga game the first week of December. You're just starting to figure out that injury. Then Andrew Carr has his back issue. Then Lamont Butler has his shoulder issue. He misses a few games. Then he comes back. Andrew Carr comes back. Then Lamont Butler hurts the shoulder again and misses time. And I go back to the conversation we had before the Texas game where it was just like, look, man, you just got to get everybody healthy for March, okay? Well, March is here. Lamont Butler is back. He's not 100%, but we hope he'll get there. But to then lose Jackson Robinson after bringing him back, it's just as catastrophic as you can get. I just feel bad for Mark Pope because every single day you're going to the well trying to figure out new things. And it's like early in the season, it would be like, well, what about this rotation? What about that rotation? Is he play? It's like now it's just like he's just trying to figure anything out to keep this team's head above water. And so to me, when I look at this season, whatever happens from here, I think it's considered a success because in my opinion, at full strength in one off season with basically zero time. Remember, Mark Pope didn't get the job till April 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in that range. He put together a top 10 team that could compete with anybody in college basketball. You go back to what this team was before all of these injuries. You beat Duke first week of the season, second week of the season, third, fourth game into the year. You beat Gonzaga in Seattle. I know that win doesn't look great now. That was an incredible win, an incredible comeback, especially in a game where you lose a key player in Kirk Kriisa. You beat Florida. Florida is trending towards a number 1 seed. Okay. So I can't sit here and again, I don't want to be too negative and too like this is like a funeral, but I also want to appreciate what Mark Pope has done because he's the Kentucky coach. When you lose at home to a team like Auburn, people are going to sit there and question this and question that. It's like, I don't know what you're supposed to do. Auburn is a team full of 24, 25-year-old grown men who have largely all played together for 2, 3, 4 years. They're the number 1 team in the country by far. And so it's not about the Auburn loss, and it's not even about what happens going forward because I just don't think there's very much you can do when you're dealing with this many injuries. Now, again, if you're looking for a little bit of a silver lining, we talked about it on Saturday afternoon. I did a quick reaction. One, at least now you know. At least there's no, we'll bring him back in a week and we'll have him practice and maybe he'll be ready then and maybe he'll be ready for the NCAA tournament. No, it's time for other guys to step up. It's for time for other guys to know that their opportunity is here for them. And I think that's all you can ask as a player is knowing that your opportunity is there. Now you got to go take advantage of it. I still think this team can make a run. I still think with the right bracket and the right breaks, they can be okay. But man, oh man, it's just so disappointing.